Well, we can, it'll be about a minute and 12, don't you think? To get
I don't
everything
know.
started, all the little
I'm
things
bad
we
at
have to
math.
say.
That's why I became a lawyer.
Yeah.
Welcome to
Oh,
the Backpack Show. Hello to your beautiful mother and your biological father.
my parents are in from Vegas. We have a West Coast crowd today too, because I just typed the wrong words. We have Ryan Angel and Faith Lavon both coming in from the West Coast, so
So
I am not
early.
typing very
We're going to
well.
talk about their short film, Our Saturday Talks, which
Right.
is based on their real life friendship and experience. I can't wait to hear about that. And also, we're going to give you the link in case you want to support the film after you've heard all about it because it's really good.
There's a
Faith
lot.
Lavon has been on before. We had her on with Trudy Roth once and talked about her book of
Yes.
poetry, talked about her career. She's an amazing person. And this is my first time meeting Ryan Angel, so I'm excited about this whole
All new
situation.
things. It could be magical.
Hi, everyone. Tim Kitzer from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, welcoming you to The Backpack Show. Your hosts, Chris Brogan, Kerry Gargone, Boom Shakalaka.
Backpack Show. I wonder
Now you
what
have to thank our sponsors before
we
we.
do. I wonder what Fatima Molina's doing today. I wonder if
Oh,
she's around.
Dean. 30 minutes with Dean. Let's go. The clock starts
All right,
now.
go fast. Hey, you want some podcasts? Get some. Go to castos.com. You can have your own podcast. Want a .online domain? You can have one. See Brogan. Oh, it's no longer
cbrogan.net.
net/online. Go to use the code Chris, all caps. You get a .online domain for $1 for a whole year. Just have to
I'm
use the code
expecting a
Chris.
big red X over that me and just put .net.
Because I don't
cbrogan.net
want to
slash
do the
online.
art anymore.
Because you're wicked janky with it. Yeah, it'll
Yeah.
be fun.
Hey, one StreamYard, you can make one of these shows just like this one. Wah. cbrogan.net/StreamYard, and you can have a
Yep.
show.
Get
Hey,
your own
want to
movie
use the search
makers.
engine? Yeah. You want a search engine?
Do.
Okay.
I like to search
Presearch.com.
things.
Mm.
I do. My kids think I know things. I don't. I'm
What are you
basically
searching?
this same level of knowledge and experience as them,
Carl's
but I just
here.
Google things. Hi, Carl.
Well, let's bring Ryan and Faith out here and we'll
Well,
talk all
let's
about.
do.
Hello.
I love how everybody has to be in their same spot. They were in the green room,
It
like in
has.
the
I have
same,
to do it that way.
yeah, in the same
All right,
order.
team. Tell us a little
Your
bit
side of
about
the
our
bed.
Saturday talks. What are we doing? What is this show? What is this? Why does this have to come to light? And what's happening?
Well, as you can see, my name is Faith Lavon at the bottom of the corner there. I wrote a short film about a year ago, yes. and it was actually a prompt in a class that I was taking about that started it all. It was a prompting class and about love and friendship. It could be love, friendship, different things like that. And at the time, I had seen a lot of like 30 or 40 short films just randomly. I thought, I just want to see what it's about. And so between that and the prompt that I had in class, this idea birthed through that. And I wanted to dedicate it to me and Ryan's friendship during we met every Saturday, usually talked every Saturday during the pandemic. And it was just a source of comfort in all the stories and all the things that came from that. And we were very committed to each other with that, just helping each other through that time. And so I wanted to dedicate our Saturday talks to our friendship. And so I wrote, I didn't put all her business in it. I mean, I put all my business in it.
Because you want to be friends
Uh,
afterwards.
right.
Smart.
Right. And so that's how it came about. And I think as I started to write it and as I started to develop it in that way, I just felt like having a Black woman's voice with these stories, or my story, was super important because it is a universal story. And I think that in the industry, a lot of times you don't hear just regular everyday stories. Like, I was about to cuss. I was like, I can't cuss on the show, right?
I mean, PG-13.
I was like, a lot of times, you don't hear Black women's stories in a universal way. And so it was important to go, yeah, this is my story. I am a Black woman. This is my story, but it's a regular everyday, like I'm your neighbor. I'm your friend down the street. Like I have regular things that happen. It doesn't have to be these stereotypical ideas or what you think it should be, or you thought that it would be. And I thought that is something that was super important to me. And also just the idea of having a slice of life, you know what I mean, combined with that, is very interesting to me. I mean, I write my poetry that way too. It's just like a slice of life is very, 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 very cathartic. It's interesting. I dig that kind of storytelling. And also, you know, in the short film form, I like narrative, you know, because a lot of times, you know, there was a while where a lot of the creative filmmakers was like, it needs to be abstract and you can only tell the story in one sentence and a look. And I'm like, that ain't me. Like, I'm not doing that. Like I want to talk. I want to tell you what's going on, and I also want to show you. But the idea of having conversation and being with, you know, my friend Ryan during the time of the pandemic and being able to develop that in a short film was so exciting, and it came to fruition in such a beautiful way, that I've been like 100% about it from the beginning. So
I love that it
that's
started with a prompt. We actually had a
yeah.
guest on the week before last who wrote a novel called Breach, and it all started because of a writing prompt in a creative writing class. She just wrote
Yeah.
one moment with this character, and the character kind of didn't leave her
Boom.
after. And yeah, so it seems like something
Yeah.
grips you, and then you
Yeah.
just run with it. Ryan, was
Yeah.
that like that for you? You felt like this was something people needed to hear about, know more about? Were you willing to share your stuff? Were you like, that, not that, keep that out?
It was in the spirit of our conversations, right? I mean, she didn't record conversations and then tippity tappity tip, you know, and it's told in which is very cool. It's kind of like spanning the time, right? You really see the journey these women through together, and there's through lines. They're also like it's snapshots of time. So you see them kind of grow together, but also like where they're going during the pandemic, because it's pandemic time. And I did not know she was writing it when she first started writing it. And so when she told me about it, I love and adore Faith. And she told me about it and she was kind of like, would you like to be involved?
I sure did. I sure did. Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking, like, that is about you.
Right. Yeah, right. But also like the respect of just, I did this thing. Would you like to be a part of bringing it to life? You know? And yeah, I did ultimately really want to be a part of it. But I knew, I mean, it was me. So, and I've come from an acting background. So there was a little bit of like, do I want to participate that way? And I realized that short films are a lot of work for many different reasons. You're wearing a lot of different hats. And to really bring it to life and support it the way that I thought it should be done, I realized producing would kind of have to be the focus, because there was a lot of work. And I just love, I mean, Faith is incredibly talented, and both in acting, I wanted to give her the space to really shine that way too. Like, it really is her story. I wanted her to shine through that. So yeah, I mean, it was just a beautiful way to be able to support a friend in a multitude of ways. And I am so incredibly proud of what we are putting out there.
Faith, another way to look at this though is that you had something that could have been sort of sacred. You and Ryan are having these chats. It means something to you. You're feeling this. But you're a crappy ass Hollywood person, so you have to go make it into a film or something like that.
Exactly.
I need to write it, produce it.
She's a lovely and talented Hollywood person.
Everything is all masturbation out here. We just all the time.
That's
like,
what
you
it
can't
is.
just have moments. So
Yeah.
what's that like? Because like, you know, how do you know when it's right? Because writers steal all the time. How did you know this was okay and that you could invade this space and convince Ryan to come along for this ride and really be part of it this way?
Because, you know, well, first of all, personally, I had just come through a lot of healing not being with I left my ex and just was in a spot of healing of all of the, one of the lines I say in the short film is healing from all the previous relationships from before. And so in the prompt, when I was writing it, it was a combination of things. Like, no one can contest my story. No one can contest the things that have happened to me. You can't say, no, that didn't happen. That can't possibly happen. Right. And then the challenge of making these two characters, because these two characters were me at a time, and now they're at different times in their lives. So the challenge and the beauty of writing these two women, that were me but separate from me, and having their dynamic be different, was super, super exciting. So I love telling good stories. I know that, when me and Ryan were talking on Saturday, we laughing about everything from A to Z, honey. Let me tell you, not everything is in that short film, but just the joy of just, like, that happened to you too, blah, blah, blah. And also, our friendship, Black, white, women, and I don't necessarily mean to put a top or lid on race, but it's super important that, past the race thing, that we are so close. We are such good friends. And I've never had a friendship in the level of respect that we have for each other. So when I asked her to do when I was like, would you like, whatever you want to be involved in, because this is based on our friendship, this is an ode to us, whatever you want to do. But secretly I was like, girl, you got to be involved in this. So if you say no, I'm about to drag you across the finish line. Like, that was what was behind it. But I respect her so much that I wanted to give her, you know what I mean, whatever she wanted to do. And so
I'm gonna honor you in this film, damn it.
Right. And you're gonna be a part of it. But I believed in it so much because it was a natural, because it's my story and I believe in my story. I believe that so many women, so many Black women need to be able to go, you know what? I have a story about me sitting down, having my coffee. It was so hot that it burned my tongue, and then I spilled it off the table, and then I stepped on it and slipped. Like, that's a regular versus, I went to the grocery store and some racist person, hollered in my ear to get out. Those stories are super important. I'm not saying that they're not, but we can sometimes focus so much on that we go past the everyday life stuff of a human being. Right. And so what better way to be able to see me as a human being, your sister, your neighbor, as to tell my everyday stories that you're going to go, oh, that happened to me. That guy did the same thing to me. I walked through there and he's hooping and hollering at me. I didn't want any of that. Like, right. So, or all of the intricate things that, women, we do actually talk about, but you don't necessarily get a chance to see it on film. So that's why it was so exciting. Because I'm just like, well, I'm not afraid of telling my story. I think you should hear it. Like,
I
you know
think
what I
it's
mean?
so
Now, if you want to
powerful, Faith, because
Yeah.
we're living in isolation for so long that it starts to feel like you're all alone and these things only happen to you. Like, only I could be this big a moron that, like, I would do these 3 things in a row or whatever. But no,
Absolutely.
it's not just you. It's just that being in isolation makes you feel as though it's only you. So to me, that's the power
Absolutely.
of it. It's like, as much as it's a film, which communicates one to many, it feels very intimate.
Oh, it is. Right when you said that, I got goosebumps, because that's how we felt. Me and Ryan were like, you know what, there's ripple effects starting to happen with this that we don't even know that's coming. We just feel it, right? So absolutely, and I believe in that so much. And then why not? Why not my story? Why can't I do a short film? Why can't I do a narrative? Why can't I do the thing and the thing? Why can't I raise money? Why can't I? You know what I mean? What's stopping me from doing A, B, and C? So, it's like, hell yeah, let's go. I truly believe, you only have one life. I don't have time to be, insecure about this up front. I could be insecure with Ryan on Saturday, girl, I feel like this. This is how I feel. I don't have time to be insecure about not doing it. Like, and also in the way that I believe, because sometimes when you do things, it doesn't match up it doesn't match what people think that you should do.
No, frequently.
So you know what I mean? So everybody got something to say. Everybody got something to say. And so I'm confident enough to weed through and take the good parts that match up with me and match up with what I want to do, that I can go, I want some of that. Oh, a little pepper over here, a little salt over here. Okay, some flavor. No to that. I don't want any peas. I don't want any okra. Thank you. Just y'all can keep that. Right. So
For
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I can talk about this all day. I mean, do we have like a 2-hour show? Like
A list of
No.
foods you do and don't want to include.
No, we don't. Ryan, I have a question about this. Do you start to get the understanding of the container of this, and Faith keeps saying to you, I just want it to be real life. I just want it to be like our talks. But that's, you're both actors, you're both writers, you're both creators, and you're people who manifest something that has gone through a level of thought. So did you find yourself on Tuesday thinking, I'm going to call Faith, and going, oh crap, I have to wait till Saturday because it's going to have to go in the film? Like, did you like schedule your big epiphanies around these calls, or how does life turn into the film sometimes?
Well, our talks were often marathons. When we first started, there were several Saturdays. We'd start at 3 usually, and there were times when we'd be on Zoom for 6 hours. I mean, plethora of potential information was massive. So it's more about culling the moments that were really, I don't know, that somehow Faith felt, because she was the driving force behind the writing, and it's her story. But as we were honing it, as we were looking at like filming it, and the read-throughs and stuff that Faith was doing, and then the massive rehearsal she did with her fellow co-star Krista, is really honing in on like what made this moment impactful, like this moment. So some of that was between she and I, but some of that was just in the creative process, and then more of that will be in the editing, right? We'll extrapolate the takes that have the most resonance. And every take really great. We had very little time. So it was like, you must be brilliant in 2 takes. Good luck to you. It's a short film with days of filming, and there were a lot of moving parts to it. Not just the different angles, but also we have, it's all the insert shots. It's all the things that actually tell the story, right? That bring this narrative storytelling to life. And so, yes, there were definitely moments where I was like, girl, I can't talk to you.
That is a true statement. Mm.
Leslie, I totally get it. I had a group of friends, and we would have pandemic Zoom happy hours and talk about all the daily stuff like kids, housework, conquering the world, etc. Conquering the world from my one room in the house where I can talk to anyone.
Baby. I better conquer in them 4 walls, honey.
I would go sit in the car sometimes because I was like, it's the only place I won't be overheard.
That is a true statement. You better talk about it. That is a true statement.
Yeah, I got to the point where I didn't want to go somewhere. Just, how I used to like go to Starbucks or something just to go out of the house and talk on the phone in the car. No, just sat in the garage. I was like,
I'll just go in the garage. I'm good.
This is happening.
Yep.
Yeah. Have this conversation.
You pointed this out too, but this is tricky because in a way, this slice of life is supposed to be about nothing. But at the same time, you're making a statement with this about nothing, saying, let me boil it down to like an awful sentence, but it's like, you don't need okra to know what this is. You know what I mean? Like, it's, I'm watching the new Marvel show, Miss Marvel, and they're stuffing as much Pakistani and Muslim culture in as they can because it's the first superhero with a Muslim background. So they're like, oh, quick, get it all in there. She has to represent all this stuff. This is the opposite of that. How do you like try to keep it so hard as a show about nothing to steal Seinfeld from the 90s? How do you do that?
Well, because when you two ways. One, yes, Hollywood has this idea that yes, something should be going all the time and it should be, this action type kind of a thing. But to me, Oscars are made of the tiny moments, the life moments, right? And so, that's what life is about. So for me personally, as an artist, I want to be able to show that and express that. That's something that I align with, right? And so because I think that because I align with that, I am confident that other people align with that too. So not everybody's going to go for the action and want the action. I want to be able to not only represent myself and see me on film, but I want people to be able to go, that I get that part of it. And I think we miss a whole kind of corner of the world of people just like that. Right. And so the more and more that I'm brave enough, Ryan is brave enough for us to be able to do something like this, the more people are going to gather to it. So, you know, to me, those things are interesting. We are all interesting people, even though sometimes we think we're very, 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 very boring. But the minute you sit down and have a conversation with with your girl, with your group of friends, you know what I mean? All these tiny things come up and it's like, oh my gosh, I thought nobody understood. So those things are super important, and they're super important to be seen and told. Period. It doesn't have to have, like you said, okra in it or peas. It doesn't have to have any kind of one way of doing things. To me, it's like, who said it had to be like that? Who said I have to do that particular formula? I'm really big on that. That's why it took me a long time to really settle into being a writer, because you learn a prompt or you learn a way of writing, right? And everybody's like, this is how you write. And I'm like, I don't want to write like that. I don't want to write in a corner like that. I'm sorry that my grammar is off. I'm sorry I miss my, my comma. That's what, the editors are for. Like, I want to get this story down. So I think it's being, I don't know if the word is confident. I think it's just being who I am, and not being ashamed of being able to show that quirkiness and all the things that don't match up that you think. And you'll find that, so many people relate to that. Even the conservative person that's sitting behind, their desk and, you know what I mean, and have all their, I's dotted and their T's crossed, still have those moments where it's like, I spilled my coffee on my lap. This is funny. It's hot, but this is funny. So that, that, right. So that's becoming more and more important to me. Like, I just want people to feel like that is okay. It doesn't have to be anything other than that.
Leslie says those moments are the best, those pure conversations. And Mitch Jackson chiming in says, good morning, be different, be yourself. Love it.
It's just a wonderful thing, because when you look at all of the difference in all of us, they're really all the same. And that's such a cliche thing to say, because it's actually true. You know what I mean? If you have, maybe our differences are not physically the same, but because they're different, they're the same. Like, we all have those things, right? And so I'm super passionate about that. And so I was thinking about the actual prompt that came in, that it wasn't about Jamie Lee Curtis. It was about love and all this kind of things. But I love Jamie Lee and True Lies. And so that first scene that I wrote from that prompt was about my friend. I'm teaching my friend how to do the Jamie Lee from True Lies. And I wrote that was the first scene. And so in the film, that's the first thing you see. I'm telling, I'm telling Krista, who's a wonderful, she's been the actor from the beginning in this, and she's just so wonderful. And I'm telling her, go down the leg, go up through the girls. Like, this is what we're doing. And I'm showing, in the middle of this pandemic, so she could be sexy for her man. Like, but it's an ode to Jamie Lee. But I didn't want the whole thing to be about Jamie Lee, because it wasn't about Jamie Lee. It was about our friendship and finding those pockets of yes, going, our pocket of going to the car and just being in the garage, and, you know what I mean, and not talking to anybody.
Right, like there's a conversation
person, right?
You not have it in the middle of your open floor
Correct.
plan.
Exactly. So and so, going to, my character that I play is just, she's going through the single life. Like I said, she's going through the single life. How do you do a single life through the pandemic? Like, what's going on there? Like, how do you work through a lot of your stuff? Like, exactly what Carrie was saying about how feeling isolated. Like, a lot of times you feel like you're isolated. So these things come up in your brain. How do you deal with them when you're just you on your sofa? Like, what does that happen? And then for Krista, she's realizing that her relationship is not working out. She tried everything, and you see you see her go from so hopeful to this relationship working out to it just crashing, right? And it's a wonderful scene where she's like, oh my God. Like, that type of anger that it's not even that you see red. You don't see anything. And it's the funniest thing because you're laughing in between it because you're laughing with your girlfriend, like, oh my God, I can't believe he did this. I can't believe this happened. La, 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 la. And you're so angry. And then you just start laughing at the thing. Some little thing starts that makes you laugh and you start giggling. Like, those are the moments that are in this short film that I'm so proud about, because a lot of times we miss showing that. Like, that to me is real life. That to me is a human experience. That to me is universal, And so, again, y'all just let me monologue. I love.
That's what
you
life is,
did.
though.
I'm
It's a
proud.
mix.
Yes.
It's not always that everything's all crappy and broken or everything's wonderful. It's always a horrific, like, wonderful mix
Correct.
of things
Yes.
all the time. They had a lot of loss during the pandemic, lost a lot of people, but also had a lot of really wonderful things happen. It is a very strange experience, and I think it's one a lot of us share. Go ahead. You were going to ask Ryan something.
I'm so sorry, Carrie. Ryan, you're a creator yourself. You could have made the same thing. You could have made our Saturday Talks. You would have had different choices. As you are experiencing it, being part of it, supporting your friend in the process and all that, does that flicker through your head? Do you think to yourself, maybe I'm going to do our Saturday Talks 2 Electric Boogaloo? What's in your head?
I haven't, but I think that, just to piggyback off of what Faith was saying, like, we did not play for the comedy, we played for the human. What we were really passionate about exploring was these two women who were just very much in sync and going through kind of same thing, same time, but in very different ways, right? Like, one thing during the pandemic that really struck me is that we were in the same ocean, we were not in the same boat. People were having very different experiences, even though we were having a global experience. Everybody was in a different boat. Some people kind of sailed through going, hey, time off. They were financially stable. They didn't face any sort of repercussions necessarily, other than they're in a pandemic. But their lives were impacted in a very different way than other people who were truly devastated during it. And I think that it would be very interesting to explore in our Saturday Talks too, from maybe the flip perspective, right? If we did the same thing, but had like just a perspective on kind of what was happening, how they do the affair, right? Dual timelines of, like, from his perspective versus from her perspective. But I think there's a life to it. I think
it's like, no, we don't need to hear his story.
From the man's
every movie ever tells his story.
Our Saturday Talks was definitely not about the men. They are
no.
They're there. They're just not there. And it's right when it's fully done. It is very much from the female perspective, even those relationships. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Right? But I think there's something. I think there's a nugget there that, as it continues, I think it will continue to have a life. We did not into it going, oh, we're going to make a part 2. Yeah. This wasn't made to be a web series, right? Like, didn't go into it like we're having part 1, then part 2, then part 3.
Yeah.
But I think there's potential for it to grow. We're just not exactly sure how that's going to happen yet.
Yeah.
Sunday chats.
Yeah, what happened last night? It's Sunday morning, girl. I'll talk to you after church at 1:00.
No, I think so much of the value in it is the perspective. Like, it literally, every movie ever made has given us ample insight into what the male experience is like. So I like these. And a lot of times, I don't know about other women, whatever, but like, you're sometimes hesitant to put the fullness of your feminine experience before a male because of how they're going to respond to it. So that I think your Saturday Talks are very different than they would be if somebody was like eavesdropping. So to me, this felt not like eavesdropping, but like being, a somewhat quieter friend listening in. So I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah.
say.
You know, well, but I think
Like
that's
that
the
whole
thing.
experience
Yeah.
of it, of the
Yeah.
clips and stuff.
I think that's the thing. I don't, obviously the male person is a part of all of our lives, of course. But you're absolutely right. It's like we hear a lot of their stories are always in the leading forefront in some kind of way. I like that my experience or our experience that we experience in the short film with males are not a balance of that, but you see the connection of why, and it's totally not male bashing at all. It's just what those experiences were and what we're trying to get to, right? And so, yeah, I want more, not just projects that are led with female filmmakers. I want the diversity in the background. I want it to be full on having those opportunities as we go. I love that Ryan said we wouldn't think about no web series with this, and I'm not down in web series. It's just that's not what this is going to go to in our idea in our minds. But I don't want that to be that, right? So there are plenty of stories that were not in this short film that did not make it into this short film. I got plenty of material, and like I said, I put Ryan's stuff in there, but she got a lot of stuff, so we got plenty of things to write about. If they came to us and said we would like you to develop da 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 da, well, hell yeah, we got stuff, and it's about time that it's heard in that way. And I certainly am not afraid or don't want to be afraid of it being female led at all. Yes, male persons, I love y'all to death. Y'all have had the whole gamut. Y'all have had the whole pie. Y'all have had the cake with the frosting with the little extras on there. Y'all have y'all have dug y'all heels in and led the way and think that every movie is about you. But I'm here to tell you no. And I want to be able to express that side of us in such a wonderful way, without having to feel the pressure of having to do it that way. You know what I mean? The other way. So, and I really honestly think that is about perspective, right? That is about my intention, Ryan's intention about what we want. Now, of course, there are logistics. Of course, I'm a businesswoman. We are business women. So, of course, you're going to have to give and take with this or do this, or, you know what I mean? I couldn't find this person over here, so I'm going to have to go with the best person. Like, this is not a dogmatic, I'm just this right here. And when it comes down to it, you want the best people around you. You know what I mean? And if that's a male person with the da-da-da, then come on, let's go. Because you have the same temperament, you have the same mindset, you have the same work ethic. Like, I'm all about that, right?
One of my favorite people is male.
Listen,
here we are.
Chris is awesome. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's not anything one way or it has to only be this because because that can be annoying. Some people are like, it only has to be da 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 da, and then they don't hear. So it really is something that I say all the time. It's the balance of things, people. It's the balance of that, right? You really look at what's going to make this project the best, right? And if you feel like this project is going to be better led by a female because of what the story you're trying to tell, then don't back out of that because you're trying to get likes, whatever. No.
Michael's saying he completely agrees with you. It's time to have diversity, not just in the stories we tell, but in the crew we have behind the camera telling the stories. So right.
It only works if we get all the way down there. And I mean, different people tell stories different ways. I mean, I was reading a story about a breakup, and I hadn't actually paid as close attention to the story until I read it just now. And the words that they used to tell it are very different than what you would have used. I mean, this person says, I'm doing this tonight. You're probably going to start a fight. I know this can't be right. Hey, baby, come on. I loved you endlessly when you weren't there for me. So now it's time to leave and make it alone. And I think, until I had actually read that out, I didn't know that Bye, Bye, Bye was the story about a really sad boy who really didn't know how to break up with his girlfriend. Now I know. So That's bye by Instinct.
It's not every show that we get here, but it's not every show.
Totally
Most
true.
of the time.
All right, listen, we've come to the part of the show where we have to do some things. We have to find who our person of the day.
Oh, and here's our person of the day. Kaboom!
I was going to go Leslie the whole way, but I'm going with filmmaker Michael Dougherty. Michael has done a lot of other projects on his own. He's a fascinating guy. He's done a lot of good indie work. Representative of nerds everywhere. I can't even begin to tell you that when I looked at his goofy ass Twitter feed yesterday, and it was like 8 ultra nerd things all in one photo.
You had a nerdgasm.
It was like Where's Waldo for nerds, all on just a random picture of his doormat. So, Mike, you're the person of the day. That entitles you to 1 free apple. You just have to go to a store and buy it yourself. And then it's yours. You're the person.
Wash it. I would leave the peel on for nutritional value, but you do you, Michael. I'm not about to tell you how to live your life.
Here's a question I'm going to ask Ryan and Faith. We've asked every person who's ever been on this show. This is what goes in your backpack. Actor Michael Irby, who's currently killing it in Barry, answered this same question. This question is what goes in your backpack. Could be something physical, metaphorical. Carrie, what's something physical you could throw in a backpack?
Ooh, extra set of teeth. DJ Cumberbund put that in the backpack.
You never know if you need an extra set of teeth.
You never know.
Okay, DJ. Hey.
You never.
Carrie,
He's a
is
wrestling
there some
fan.
metaphorical thing you'd want to add to a backpack?
Kindness. Ariel Helvetica, burlesque performer, put kindness in the backpack.
She was very kind that day.
She was.
So let me ask you, I'm going to start with Ryan Angel. What goes in the backpack?
Okay, if doing physical, I would say an erasable pen. I have terrible penmanship. And if we're going sort of metaphysical, I will go with grace to remind myself that everybody's going through something and everybody's, for the most part, trying to do their best.
I'm in for either or both. Faith Lavon, all things Faith. What needs to go in the backpack?
You know what? I'm going to go with the Wilson volleyball. I'm going to pull a Tom Hanks in Castaway because I just need to make sure that I have somebody else to talk to because sometimes I'm tired of talking to myself. So that's
the volleyball doesn't interrupt so much. It's great.
I can play with it. I can, you know what I mean? Yes, all of things.
Wait a minute. Was it? I can't even find it.
Ooh, Carl wants to put kimchi in the backpack. I could get with that.
Okay.
And curiosity. I could both of those things would be fine with me.
Wait a minute, Carrie. Was it this kind of episode?
Oh, for God's sake, stop talking. Let the woman speak.
No, I talked a surprising lot, actually. I think Faith just encouraged me to open up.
That's exactly
Put
right.
my story out there.
Exactly. Correct.
Well, there's a lot of stories to tell out there. I mean, there's a lot of things to go and do. And I was thinking about, there's different ways that we want to get our stories told. There's generational ways. There's things like, if I had asked my grandmother, would she want to sit and watch 2 people talk? She'd be like, no, I don't want to watch 2 people talk. And there's like, that woman watched soap operas for 38 years. Want to know what I learned on All My Children?
And let me catch you up. It's the next day, and Erica Kane finds herself in the middle of a big mess with Adam.